Boston's winter didn't whisper, it struck. The wind swept down Tremont Street with a sharpness that made the skin sting and the lungs burn. Snow had crusted into brittle patches along the curb, and on a forgotten metal bench pressed against a brick wall, a woman sat still, her frame curled protectively around two sleeping children. Clara Evans kept her arms tight, not from fear of losing them, but to hold in what little warmth their bodies shared. The twins' heads rested against her chest, their small breaths leaving faint clouds in the air. A bus rumbled past without stopping. A man in a heavy coat glanced their way, then kept walking. Her phone buzzed against her palm, the battery icon already in the red. She scrolled to a number she'd memorized long before life had gone off the rails. Sophie, not family, but the closest thing she had left. Pride had a voice, and it whispered not to send the message. Hunger and cold spoke louder. She typed with stiff fingers, "Can we stay with you tonight? Just until morning. The kids are freezing. She pressed send, unaware her numb thumb had slipped, altering one digit in Sophie's number. For blocks away, in the polished quiet of a glass high-rise, Ethan Kohl stepped out of a conference room into the near-empty hall. Midnight meetings were nothing new, but tonight's had been the kind that left tension sitting in his shoulders. The building's heating made the air too warm, too still. His phone vibrated. Expecting another finance update, he glanced at the screen. The message stopped him in place. "Can we stay with you tonight? Just until morning. The kids are freezing." A location tag blinked beneath the text, auto-generated. And above it, the name, Clara. The years between now and the last time he saw her compressed into a single visceral jolt. 6 years without a word. No call, no explanation, just an empty space where their future had been. He looked up from the phone, his voice sharp. "To Tremont Street. Now." The driver didn't ask why. The bench appeared under a cone of yellow light, the air around it shifting with the motion of passing cars. Ethan stepped out before the car had fully stopped, his shoes crunching over frozen grit. Clara looked up. The wind carried the silence between them. Ethan's gaze flicked to the twins, their faces pressed into her coat, then back to hers. "Are they warm enough?" His tone was steady, but there was no mistaking the edge in it. "We'll manage," she said, tightening the blanket. "You should go." He took one step closer. "Let me help. Just for tonight." She opened her mouth to refuse, but the girl in her arms coughed, a thin, dry sound that cut through her resolve. Clara's jaw shifted. She nodded once, slow. They rode in silence. The heater melted the frost on their clothes into faint dampness. The twins leaned against her, breathing evenly. Ethan kept his eyes on the road ahead, his grip on the armrest measured but firm. At the secondary penthouse, he opened the door without speaking. Clara stepped in, scanning the space, not for luxury, but for safety. "Guest rooms down the hall," he said. "It's warmer there." Her gaze met his for a brief, charged moment. "Thank you. Just for tonight." "Just for tonight," he repeated. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime, spilling warm light into the marble hallway. Ethan stepped out first, his breath still sharp from the cold. Clara followed slowly, one arm cradling her sleeping daughter, the other guiding her son, who clung to her coat. "This way," Ethan said quietly, leading them down the hall to a corner suite. He swiped his keycard, the door unlocking with a muted click. The room was spacious but understated, a deliberate choice for a guest space. The hum of the central heating filled the silence. Clara sat the little girl on the sofa, then crouched to unlace her son's boots, her movements efficient but careful. Ethan hesitated near the doorway. In 6 years, he had imagined 100 ways they might meet again. None of them looked like this. Her in a worn coat, 2 children pressed against her like she was the only safe place in the world. "There are clean towels in the bathroom," he said, his voice low. "I'll have some food sent up." She didn't look at him. Thank you, but just tonight. Ethan nodded, though the words landed heavier than she meant them to. A few minutes later, room service arrived. Steaming bowls of chicken soup, bread still warm from the oven, mugs of hot cocoa crowned with melting marshmallows. The children's eyes lit up. Clara murmured a quiet, "Eat slowly." But her gaze stayed fixed on the window where snow swirled in the amber streetlight. Ethan stood by the dining table, hands in his pockets, pretending to check his phone, but his attention kept drifting back to the way Clara smoothed her daughter's hair without thinking, to the tiny cough her son tried to hide. When the children finished, Ethan gathered the empty dishes and set them by the door. Clara rose, adjusting the blanket over the sofa where the twins now curled together. "You can take the bedroom," Ethan said. "It's warmer." "I'll stay here." Her tone was final. Ethan paused, searching for something to say that wouldn't push her further away. In the end, he simply nodded. "Good night, Clara." She didn't answer, but as he turned to leave, he heard her whisper almost to herself. "Good night." The first light of morning slipped through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting pale gold across the living room. Clara stirred on the sofa, a blanket draped over her. Her daughter was still asleep, her small hand curled against Clara's side. The boy sat cross-legged on the rug, quietly flipping through a picture book he must have found on the coffee table. Ethan was already in the kitchen, sleeves rolled to his forearms, pouring coffee into a mug. The smell of toast and scrambled eggs drifted through the air. He glanced over as Clara sat up, her hair falling in loose strands. "There's breakfast," he said simply, setting plates on the counter. She hesitated before joining him, the children trailing close. The boy reached for a slice of toast, his eyes darting between Ethan and his mother. "You don't have to do this," Clara said, her voice low but steady. Ethan met her gaze. "It's just breakfast." They ate in relative silence, punctuated by the clink of cutlery and the occasional giggle from the twins when the boy tried to make his sister laugh. Ethan found himself watching those moments, the easy rhythm between them, the way Clara's eyes softened when she looked at her children, and how quickly they hardened again when she caught him looking. When the plates were cleared, Ethan checked his watch. "I have a meeting in 2 hours. I can arrange for a driver to take you anywhere you need." Clara straightened. "We'll be fine. We won't stay longer than today." A quiet beat hung in the air before Ethan nodded. "At least let me give you something for the kids. Warm clothes, groceries, no strings." She opened her mouth to refuse, but stopped when her son coughed, a dry, rasping sound. Her eyes flickered with concern. "I'll take him to see a doctor," Ethan offered immediately. Clara hesitated, then gave a small nod. "Only the doctor." "That's it." A short while later, they stepped into the cold again. The city was quieter in the morning, the snow crunching beneath their shoes. Ethan walked a half step ahead, holding the clinic's glass door open for them. Inside, the warmth was almost startling. A nurse ushered them to the pediatric wing. As she took the boy's temperature, she smiled at Ethan. "Dad, you can fill out the forms here." Clara's head snapped up. Ethan had taken the clipboard. His pen paused for a second before he wrote his name in the blank space for parent or guardian. Clara watched, her eyes flickering with unease. When the nurse walked away, Ethan handed the form back. But as the boy was led into the examination room, Clara's mind had already begun to drift back to the years apart, to the truth she had buried and to the man now standing beside her, the one who had once promised to stay by her forever.